Hello guys and welcome to my video series here on Guts Poker. Back on Guts Poker. Today I will play 3 tables of 50 NL over here. And yeah, video as usual will be generally about strategies, about general strategies, mental game, technical game. I'm basically talking about the spots that occur. I'm gonna fold the King 9 here, gonna call the 8s here, set mining. I'm folding the King 9 here, mainly because its playability is pretty poor. It's pretty dominated versus MP opening range, and especially in a multi-raise situation, it just doesn't really perform that well. So a lot of people would just clearly call it because they get really good odds, which it is an argument. Getting good odds is an argument. But you rather have to see, I mean, he jams for like over 2x pot here. Bottom of my calling off range here would be a 9 with just bare pocket 8s. I'm just gonna fold. He also did this into like 3 opponents, so it's not that likely to be a pure spaz. And I also do block bluffs, so just pretty easy fold. Queen 10 gonna fold. So you do have to look at like the playability and like how the hand that you have there in the big blind performs and like the situation you're gonna face, which in this case is gonna be a multi-raise situation. Pretty good board for me as the raiser. Just gonna like see better roughly around half pot. Yeah, I have pretty reasonable backdoors. I do pick up equity on a reasonable amount of turns, which I can barrel. We do pick up a gut shot, but at the same time the 9 kind of functions in a way with his range that a lot of its hands are gonna call again. Like he barely has any folds. Once he calls a half bet on the flop, it's pretty hard to fold him off here on the 9. We basically would have to triple barrel and potentially overbet. Given our hand, we don't have the worst hand to do so, but he also just has a lot of top pairs. And if we check, we just get to realize our equity a lot. Because if he has a 10, he's usually just going to check back, and we get to realize our equity versus a 10 quite freely. I think at this point he just has a bunch of bluff catchers. I also have a tiny bit of showdown value, obviously not a lot at all, and I should never win here. That being said, he's never folding a 10, so the only thing I can get him off is like an underpaired peeled flop, an ace-sided peeled flop, which a lot of the ace-sided peeled flop would 3-bet pre. It's generally not going to have that many, so I'm going to just give up. Just has a 10, which isn't folding turn. It probably folds to a triple barrel, but we don't really know that for certain, like especially on such a break. It's, yeah. So I rather take the low variance approach there and not bluff it off. If I had a read that the guy was like some weakish rag, then I probably would just barrel it off. But having no information on him, I just decided to take the low variance approach. We got to really realize our equity, which we do still have a gut shot and an overcard to the 10. We got to realize all of that equity, which is pretty sweet. An alternative line would have been to overbet turn and then overbet river. Which, given the amount of king x he has and the reluctance of people to fold top pair in general, I just didn't really perceive as that good. I want to see with a pretty substantially big sizing here. I do want to get rid of like pocket 8s and such right now. I do get raised. This is a pretty easy fold. He generally is going to have a lot of like good ace-x here, sets here, and sometimes the better draw. So having the second nuts draw, we just have a pretty easy fold. We get pretty poor odds, like we only get 2 to 1, and he's not that likely to raise huge and then check back turn and let us realize. And our draw might be dominated. And versus hand like deuces or 9s, we also have like less equity than usual. Some relatively fine opens here, not the best hands in the world, but fine enough to open. Pretty weird hand that he just raises for pot there in position. Already seems like a weaker player, just given that data point. Without a spade here and on a pretty low connected texture, I'm just going to check back the ace-10 and realize my leftover equity. With an overcall here, closing the action, being in position to one of the guys, which more than likely is just a recreational call calling 3-bet here. And the other guy also just did something kind of peculiar. I'm just going to call here, closing the action, getting really good odds. And this hand will perform pretty well in a multi-raise scenario. The ace-10, I'm just going to go for showdown. I don't have a ton of showdown, but I do have some with a relatively strong ace-high. It's pretty hard to fold him off pairs at this point, so we're just going to check down. And lose to 6s, which are not going to fold turn, they are not going to fold flop, so we have to double, triple barrel there to get him off his hand. Which, given the amount of showdown value we do have with the ace-10, it's not needed. So this guy leads into 2 players. I generally perceive this lead to be a chop pair or better, or a good draw most of the time. Given the player behind us is uncapped, and just raise to pot in position. I'm just gonna fold the top pair here. If this was heads up, I would call. Given the player behind, I'm just gonna fold. I really don't want to be sandwiched there, and the leading range can definitely have me beat quite a bit. Queen deuce, pretty easy fold, and he leads again on a spade. Could still be a lot of things. This doesn't really narrow him down that much. So this guy 4x opens again. Second time he 4x opens, gonna immediately take him as a weaker player. This is generally not a thing. A reg does. Same here, the guy min raises and just posted his blind, so pretty sure he's a weaker player. Yeah, gonna 3-bet to around €7 here for value of the king queen. Get called, flop pretty poor, but good enough to go for a c-bet for 1/3. We have some backdoors, we can get some immediate folds, can pick up some barrel equity, and such. Get a fold immediately, pretty good. On that turn we would have definitely barreled. 3-6, given the weaker players in the blind, I'm probably gonna push this towards an open. Generally, you wanna open pretty liberally. Not too liberally, it kind of depends on what players are behind, but people are definitely overfolding. And like the rake is not even that high on microgaming, so it's like even if you get to post flop, your hands are not going to get as submerged by rake as on other networks or sites. Like I'm always really surprised if I like play a long session on Guts Poker and then look at like how much I actually raked in. It's generally really a low amount, like a surprisingly low amount. I decided to play 3 tables again instead of 2. Some of my latest videos I only played 2, but then I got like some requests to pump it up to 3 tables again. I personally prefer playing 3 tables more than 2. I think you get more out of it because it doesn't get that hectic, but you still get into more spots. I can just talk about more situations, get into more situations. So I just think the value you gain from me playing 3 instead of 2 tables is better, especially them being regular tables. But I guess you can let me know about your opinion in the comments about that topic. King 4 is going to be a pretty easy fold. The queen deuce is also going to be a pretty easy fold. And as always, guys, if you have any questions of any sort, shoot me a message on PokerVIP, put them into the comments. If you disagree with any of the hands I played, go ahead and tell me so. The video, as usual, is going to be around 30 minutes long, by the way. The king, ace queen, just going to open, pretty strong hand. The 7-8, I could occasionally 3-bet this. Having no information on the guy, I think I will opt to fold this time. Definitely sometimes 3-betting the 7-8. Kind of depends on who opens, kind of depends on who's behind. Like, are players behind that are likely to cold call my 3-bet, like are pushes behind. You could even sometimes argue for a flat here, even though I'm not sure that's going to make you a lot of money. With the ace queen, so generally versus a big blind, I would see by the 3rd here. But you have to treat the small blind definitely different than a big blind cold calling range. So I'm going to give the small blind cold calling range a decent bit more credit here to be like more narrow and basically have an easier time to hit his defense frequency here on the flop. I'm just going to check back this ace queen, realize my equity, and I obviously still have like some decent amount of showdown value. I want to realize the equity I do have if I'm beat. Pretty peculiar, pretty weird, small turn lead. Also, yeah, I'm just gonna fold the ace queen, blocking some flush draws even. Drinking some green tea. Folding some garbage. Pocket tens, that's a pretty strong hand. Oh, sadly the whale doesn't come along. So this guy 4x opens again. We're definitely gonna 3-bet our hand here. So this is a standard sizing. We're gonna go to 3x in position. We're also a bit deeper. Hopefully he doesn't 4-bet. Okay, and I mean that's the most awful flop I've ever witnessed. Pretty big c-bet here with the top pair on a pretty draw heavy board. Can get a lot of value versus the BB range. With the 10s, I'm just gonna check back. 10s, no spade. Trying to weasel my way to showdown. Hope he has like 8s or 9s. Hope I hit my gut shot on river. On this turn, which completes 2 pairs, straights, flushes, we have a pretty easy check back. And even on the river, it's probably gonna be a check back given the quality of this turn. With the 10s, we have a pretty easy check down. We do river the straight pretty good. It's pretty rare to be beat here yet. He has to have had a flush that checked twice. We're just gonna call. There's no real reason to raise. There's no real value to be gained from raising. We're usually gonna chop here and sometimes gonna be beat. Sometimes he's gonna bluff. He can't call with his bluffs. We're just gonna call. And we do beat his bluff, so that's pretty good. Obviously his hand can't call as well. On the 8 now, once he snap checks, I actually feel relatively well about my hand. It's pretty close now with the King 9. If I had like Ace King, I would value bet. King 10, I probably would. The King 9, I think I will check down. It's like kind of borderline here with the King 9. You could get some value out of a Queen. There's some worse King X's in there, but even King 8 improves now. Just gonna check down the King 9. Beat pocket 7s, which can't really call there. Here we have a pretty cool spot to pot raise, to squeeze. Just have to think about the sizing for a second, because on stars I'm using stars helper to see the big blinds. So this is going to be 250, so this is going to be 5, so it's going to be around 625 if I'm not mistaken. So around 6 is the sizing here. Pretty happy to win there. His bluff on river is kind of good, I think, with the pocket 8s, not gonna lie. He can't really win by checking, and he definitely can get me to fold a lot of better hands. I like his bluff. So this guy's min-raising from MP. Yes, this is not like a definite read that he's now like a fish, but it's just really likely that like a guy min-raising from MP is not gonna be a rag. Because I personally barely know any rag that does that. Which doesn't mean it's completely bad. It just is like a pretty reasonable data point to assume he's probably not a rag. Let me put it like that. It's rather true than untrue that he's not going to be a rag. 2 rag rationals behind. I'm going to open my RFI range here to Jack 7 offsuited. Pretty wide, pretty loose. You don't have to open this. It's marginal. It's not really going to show a win rate. It's going to be around a 0 RV open. Once again, the King 5, you can't call here closing the action. Like, you just have a too poor hand. Like, no playability, no, like, nutability, no good implied odds. You just fold the garbage. And defend, like, hands that can actually realize the equity quite properly. And so on. Pocket 4 is probably gonna see a flop. Jack 8, probably gonna open. Gonna defend here, never 3-betting the send in these positions. I mean, I could, it's not the worst thing, but I wouldn't. Flop is just gonna be a check fold, regardless of sizing. I mean, theoretically, you would have to peel a small bet there with the diamond and the pair. In practice, I would just even fold as a 1/3 c-bet. If this kind of open sharps, we're in a somewhat dicey spot. Now this gets pretty interesting. So I think I want to do with the 7s is squeeze. We're doing pretty well versus a cut-off opening range, and we probably are decently ahead of like the button cold calling range because it's probably going to jam a better hand most of the time. So we're going to squeeze here. Yep. And the aim here, we're going to see bet small with the ace-7. The aim with the squeeze here is to force out the cutoff because he's sandwiched in an awkward position. I mean, he obviously just picked up the nuts this time. And to get it in versus the cutoff. And now we're just having a pretty easy fold. And right here with the ace-7, we have 2 options. We can check back and bluff catch river because there are actually a lot of gut shots on the flop that will peel. Yeah, we let them realize their gut shot equity, but it's not that much. We also do pot control versus better hands. And yeah, I'm gonna go for the bet chat backline or calling river. I mean, this is a pretty safe river still. So he does pick up he sometimes picks up a queen jack, king queen type of hand here. He also sometimes still has a worse ace or kicker still plays. He also sometimes has a 10 here. He quite often has a 10 to be quite honest, just as played. I want to just bet a 3rd, trying to get called by a queen, a 10, definitely gonna get called by a worse ace. I really like the pocket 7 squeeze there, to be honest. Let me sit up a bit more straight. It's just like the cutoff. You're not gonna do poorly versus the cutoff, and you're gonna definitely be ahead of gonna be ahead of the whale, but on the button. I mean, 7-7 versus somewhat standard cutoff opening range is like around 30%. Yep, you're gonna push a bit of equity. You're gonna have like around 52% equity. You're also obviously gonna have fold equity. The cutoff's gonna fold actually quite a lot there pre-flop, because it's pretty likely that if he calls it, the button is gonna overjam, and then I can still re-isolate. So it's a pretty bad spot for him to be sandwiched there. He's gonna be really honest with his 4-betting range there. And 7s is also in a way like a bit too strong to fold, but I really don't want to cold call there, being out of position to both players. That's a pretty good solution to just squeeze your hand there. Widen my squeeze value range there, which essentially is a value squeeze. And then quite happily stacking off versus the button, which had like around less than 30 big blinds. If you would open jam, I would also call. If you would have 3-bet jammed there over the cutoff open, I would have folded my hand though. Ace king, pretty strong hand. Hopefully we get some action. Pretty good flop. There's a min raise from UTG. The guy is weaker. I will defend this. The rake is pretty low here on microgaming. I'm not super thrilled about it, but I think we can weasel our way into here to see a flop for a min raise. Pretty good flop. Gonna see bet pretty big here, pretty substantially. Lots of worse sets that can call me. Pretty dynamic texture in the bottom table. C-bet's pretty big here on the top right. I'm not too happy about this. I'm not too happy about getting check raised on the bottom left, but I will call and see what the turn brings. With the 10-9, I'm going to peel 1 and then see. We are really well protected this turn. We have a bunch of straights, and we also have 2 pairs, sets, flushes. So he should check back here a lot, and we're going to get to realize our equity a lot. We do river 2 pair. The ace king is going to be a call. Then see on the turn. 5-6 gets it. Besides that, everything misses. I don't think he has a straight. I don't think he has a flush. I think he has an overpair a lot here. I'm just going to block really tiny here. Because we do beat his overpairs, and I do think we can get called by worse here. He's not going to fold his queens here. Exactly. We also deny him the chance to bluff, which is pretty good because I really don't want a bluff catch there. I don't really think we're beat. I don't think he check raises like pocket fours and then checks turn. It's pretty weird. So I think he quite often has a draw. Sometimes he has like king queen. We do want to charge his draws, and we do want to get value from king queen. So we're going to bet our hand. But at this point, I'm going to bet fold my hand because the double check raise line here is just way too nutted to contest with my top pair top kicker. Especially in a situation where I'm still uncapped and still going to have like 2 pair sets, straights. So pretty happy to take it down there. Pretty happy to get the value here with the 10-9. I can't check what he had, but I'm going to assume it's going to at least be a 10 or better. And I let that pretty small, like I let it for a 5th pot, which, yeah, it's just a blocker bet. Easy defend here with the queen jack, never forwarding the sand, always calling. Pretty good, really good flop for my range, not so good flop for my hand. If he does check, I'm probably going to start by 1-3ing, stabbing. The check range here is generally going to be really imbalanced. Him c-betting half pot is pretty atrocious probably, realistically, how ranges function there. Should probably play a check raise, check fold, check call strategy. Probably should start checking most of the time. Not even from a theoretical perspective, also from like just a practical perspective. And especially like his half pot sizing, like I just have like really easy folds or really easy continues for the most part. It's pretty easy for me to play versus him there. It's really making my life easy. Easy open with the king queen, pretty good hand. Hopefully the big blind doesn't like jam. Okay, interesting flop. We do block top pairs, quite good. Start by c-betting around half pot. Trying to get him off some ace highs, trying to get him with some pocket 3s or 4s. Picking up top pair, now we basically have the nuts. It's pretty hard to be beat. 7s beat me, deuces beat me, and king jack, which king jack suited is one combo. He could have offset, but it's pretty unlikely. At this point, we're basically going to hope he has like ace jack, queen jack, jack 10. 10-9 picks up a double gut shot. He could have some other things like ace 10 of spades. Anyways, we're going to bet like around 60% pot. Also evaluate river. If he raises here, we have a snap fold. It's a super underbluffed situation. He's not going to raise worse sense for value. He's not really going to bluff. You also block bluffs. So if you get raised here, you just get out of there. You're also completely uncapped. You just probably had like 6s, a 7, pocket 8s. I'm going to push this towards an open. It's pretty marginal, but there are like a lot of recreationals and fish on the table, so I think it's quite reasonable to widen my range to king jack offsuited. Not the most fantastic spot in the entire history of spots, but certainly fine. I will check fold this hand on this texture versus these ranges. Seems pretty straightforward, pretty easy. As I'm always advocating, by the way, guys, don't ever focus too much on theory. You should always kind of keep it in mind, but it's like, just think about the situations in a vacuum. Like when I'm talking a bit about theory here and there, don't think it's like my main reasoning to why I do something. It's generally going to be a vacuum reason why I do something. The ace-10 here I'm just going to call. I could something 3-bet. It's like okay to 3-bet. I prefer flatting of the ace-10. And with the ace-queen we have a really easy value for 3-bets. Once he checks, I can feel definitely free to bet this. I'm mainly targeting under pairs. He can check some reasonable hands like queen jack, queen 10. We have reasonable equity. We do block the high cards. We unblock the under pairs. Pretty good situation. So right here we're going to start by c-betting 1/3 with a lot of our range. Plays really easy. I don't know, if he was a weaker player I would probably size up to around half pot here. I hope I don't get raised. It's really awkward. After bottom pair vector flush draw, I'm just going to start by checking. He's going to have 16 combos of queen 10. He's going to have a lot of strong hands. Ace 4 I could 3-bet here. 3x open from UTG. I'm just going to fold. The jack 8, oh, really small sizing. I'm probably going to peel one street here given the backdoor flush draw. Hopefully he doesn't bomb it now, because then we're actually not that happy. If he bets 3 euros here, yeah, he bets half pot. We have a really easy call. You can easily value bet worse here, like you can easily value bet ace 10, ace 9, ace 7. Sometimes gonna have a random king 10. I'm gonna call turn and usually fold river on a lot of rivers. This one is a pretty easy fold. He's not gonna value bet ace 10 now, he's just gonna check down. He's never gonna bet king 10 as for value now. Like, not gonna bluff it either. So we're just gonna check win here a lot. And quite often check fold as well, I guess. Pretty easy fold. Also ace x of clubs was possible, so could easily have had ace 2s of clubs. It's really not hard for him to have the nuts there. He still has 16 combinations of queen 10, he still has flushes, he still has better 2 pairs. If this guy 3-bets me, I have a pretty easy defend with the ace queen. Nine 4 suited, that's such a... I mean, how do I put this nicely? It's not a beautiful hand. It's definitely not a beautiful hand. This guy's sitting quite deep stacked here. Sitting with like 5 and more binds, 5.5 binds. Good for him. Oh, I would have had the nuts here. Shame. It's not the nuts. No, it's the second nuts. 636 texture. I mean, kind of neutral texture. Just gonna see what 1/3 because generally people do overfold versus 1/3. I could also check and then step turn, but I just think that's just overperforms. They just overfold to these small c-bets. And you do block some continues with the jack of clubs. You have some equity with 2 overcuts and a backdoor flush draw. You get to realize some of that equity by c-betting 1/3. You're gonna not get raised that much. Overall, a 1/3 c-bet performs pretty well there. Seven 3 offsuited. Check what if some of the 100 NL tables are running. Kind of are interested in how often they do run here. Folding these pretty poor hands. Only one anonymous table of 100 running. And there's only one reg sitting there, so 100 NL is kind of not running that frequently here. I mean, there's some normal tables. A pocket jack's really strong hand. Opening for sure. Gonna hopefully get some action from the small blind, to be quite honest. And ace king, really beautiful hand again. He does call. That's getting some action. That's defined as getting some action. Easy 3-bet, easy get it in with the ace king. 3-betting to 4x out of position. Well, that's an atrocious flop. Don't even have the diamond. The ace king, we don't flop too bad. We're still relatively ahead of a lot of hands here. Jacks are just going to be checking down. Yeah, just going to see bet small here and then take it down quite a lot. Going to see bet 420 because it's funny. And we also have the backdoor flush draw, so we have some decent playability on turns. And we just get him to fold here a lot. It's now an interesting turn. So we have a decent bit of options. He's going to have a decent bit of floats if he's not completely under floating the flop, which we are completely ahead of, and we're actually crushing a hand like ace queen of clubs, for instance. We're completely crushing. Check's just gonna check down. So I will check and give him a chance to bluff, because I actually do think our hand has a substantial amount of showdown value, and it's pretty hard to get him up a hand like 7s or 8s on the turn. I would need to triple barrel, and I'm not too sure if it even folds to triple barrel with a hand like 8s. So I'm just gonna check down my hand. I still have a substantial amount of showdown value. He's not really gonna bluff ace queen now, so we just have a pretty easy check fold overall. Yep. Pretty good pot to take down there, probably versus ace queen exactly, sadly can't check. With the jack 9, I'm never gonna 3-bet this hand, always gonna call, and always gonna call flop. Besides if he jams or something, then I'm not. Ace jack, pretty easy open, 4-3. Marginal hand, gonna open, bottom of opening range. Jack 9 versus a check. Definitely a lot of worse hands check calling here. Definitely gonna extract a lot of value by betting. Yeah, just gonna check. Oh, well, he leads here. I mean, easy fold with 4 high. Hopefully we don't check raised here. We do block the nuts, so should lower the chance of getting check raised here. Queen 10 suited. Another pretty cool hand. Min raise from UTG. Given the players behind, I think we can actually just flat here. Okay, once he check calls, on the turn it's kind of interesting now. The queen should really not improve him that much, besides queen 8, I guess. We have two options. We can check back, or we can bet small on the turn, because actually there are still quite a lot of hands that are worse than ours that can call us. I think I will bet small on the turn, and then check back river, to extract some value, to also deny the chance to bluff rivers. With the queen 10 here, I'm gonna start. I mean, it's 4 ways. I'm actually going to check and hope for a free card. With the ace jack, I'm contemplating overbetting river. Everyone is really capped here. I will go for it. I will make bet 5 euros here. I think everyone is really capped here. It's pretty hard for them to call. Should just get a lot of snap fold folds here with the ace jack. With the queen 10, I'm just going to fold. It's a board per board, and it's a bet call. Even if I blink my 9, it could easily not be live. I don't have a backdoor flush draw as well. Oh, he's in the tank now. I mean, this is a pretty obvious bluff, but people are still really overfolding to it, so it's just a pretty big hotspot. Like, basically once they check 3 times there, they tell you, I have nothing, take the pot, I don't care. And that's exactly what you do. You, like, listen to them because they actually told you, hey, dude, I don't have anything. Go ahead, take the pot. And that's what you do. You just take the pot. You do overbet to not get some stubborn calls, because like a lot of like their third pairs are gonna look you up if you bet 2/3 there, right? But once you overbet, it actually drastically increases your fold equity there versus such hands. They will be like, even if they like kind of realize, oh, he's full of crap, they will be like, I don't believe you, but it's still like an overbet. I'm just gonna fold and call next time or something like that. They're gonna come up for a reason to fold. It's just overperforming. Yeah, you have some non-zero amount of showdown value there, but really, like, I'm not gonna take mine for showdown there in a 3-way situation. With the 3-4, versus the BB range, I would always 1/3 here. for protection and value. There's a small blind range. I'm gonna treat the small range a bit more cautiously and just check back. Really good turn. He still is gonna have plenty of ace X. That being said, we can now get easily 2 streets versus like 7s and 8s, which is exactly what we're gonna do. Calling minions with the king 7 suited, calling 3x here with the queen 10. And we just get a fold here, that's fine. The queen 10 I'm gonna take as a bluff catcher, the king 7. So I should defend here. Will I though? No. Like from a theoretical perspective, this should be a defend. With the queen 10, I'm once again gonna go for a really tiny blocker bet. I think I have the best hand at this point. Easy fold with the queen 10. And the king 7, pretty close spot I assume. There's 1/3 I would peel, there's half pot I'm just gonna lay it down. It's also like if he has an ace, which he has a bunch of, it's pretty hard to improve this stat. So yeah. We already are at 30 minutes. Might went by pretty fast. This will be a 2-part video series. So I hope you guys will be back for part 2. As always, any questions, post them in the comments, shoot me a message on PokerVIP. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you will be back for part 2, and hope you will have fun at your own grind. Peace.